Good day, my dear students, and welcome to the presentation of Life Orientation Life Skills 1. My name is Mr. Teddy Shikukuma, and I will be with you in a few minutes to present to you some aspects regarding the subject content, Life Orientation Life Skills 1. I have to take you through the content, some very important aspects that you have to take note of, and so that you will be able to do well in your exams that is coming very soon. So you need to prepare the whole module, of course, but I have to take you through some of the important aspects that you need to take into consideration. To start with, as a student of life orientation, life skills, you should have a broader understanding of different aspects, and you should be able to address them in exam, be able to answer questions that are related to those particular issues, and you have to do it with confidence and full understanding. Once you have revised, once you've gone through the modules, then you will be able to excel well. First of all, I would like to say perhaps what you need to pay attention to is the action verbs. You need to understand if you are saying examine, define, describe, explain, you should understand which is which. For you to answer the questions correctly, you should have an understanding of what are those action verbs meant in details. Okay, to start with, the concept of origin. One, as a student of life orientation, life skills, you must know what does that mean when we are talking about religion. What is religion in general? So for you to answer the question is when you have gone through the module, you have an understanding, but as I always say, do not limit yourself to the module that is given to you. You should have a wider understanding of other by exploring other issues, perhaps exploring the internet or reading other books, just for you to grasp the concept. Okay, concept of religion, what is it? And you should also know what are the most practiced religions in Namibia. So we have a lot, but you have the most one that are practiced by the majority of people in Namibia. So you go back to your module and look at this. We have different examples like Baha'i, we have Christianity, we have more Muslims and so forth. So please acquaint yourself with the content, and you must be able to know what are the most practiced religions in Namibia. And we have a religion that is introduced in our community or in our society, and one should have an understanding of what are the roles, or what is the role of religion in the society. What does it do? Shaping the lives of individuals, perhaps. Look at that and be able to answer. If a question of that nature happens to come in your exam, then we'll be able to know what are the roles of religion in the society. What does it do? Okay. The other aspect that you should also prepare and understand is the role or the roles of or the gender roles in our family. So we have families where we come from. You have it can be extended family, can be nuclear family, can be single parent family, and you name it. So what are the gender roles? Each gender in a family has to perform a certain activities. What are they? You should be able to know. If you are a man, what are your roles as a man in a family? If you are a lady, what are your roles in a family? So you must be able to know. Perhaps it's providing the family with financial stability or financial needs. Perhaps it's to look after the kids. Perhaps, what are the roles? So there are a lot of them. If you go to your module, you'll be able to know what are the gender roles in a family. In life, we tend to agree or to disagree with someone because of our differences. So now, but in any case, whenever we are disagreeing with someone, we must disagree without offending anyone. So we must agree assertively. But how do we disagree assertively with someone without offending? Because you find in some cases people don't know how to disagree with someone. They end up arguing and throwing bad words to one another. But in any way, in terms of life orientation and life skills context, you should be able to disagree with someone, but in a more professional and more reserved manner. So how do we go about it to disagree assertively? So you should get the information from the module. In life orientation, life skills, we have also what we call 10 commandments in the Torah. If you are talking about the 10 commandments, so you should go through all of them one by one, have that understanding. What are those 10 commandments in the Torah? Okay. Everybody in life go through emotions and feelings for different reasons. So we should have the understanding of the importance of our emotions and feelings and how to express them, because as much as anybody can get emotional, as much as anybody has feelings, you should be able to control them and not to offend or to make other people feel threatened by your emotions or by the feelings. So therefore, you should get back to the book or to the module and get an understanding of the importance of our emotions and feelings. And for example, as a teacher, if you are teaching the learners, you have your feelings, you have your emotions. So you must be able to understand the importance of those, so that you cannot take your emotions or your bad feelings in a classroom. So if you go through this, you will be able to be prepared as a teacher and be able to attend to the learners in a fair manner, not to disrupt the class because of your emotions. And this must also be passed to the learners. As a teacher, you know, learners are looking at you as they are getting example from you. The way you carry yourself, the way you control your emotions, the way you control your feelings. So they are copying. You know, in a class, it's copy and paste. If you cannot control your emotions, if you cannot control your feelings in front of the learners, so they are also going to do the same thing. So therefore, it's very, very much necessary for you to understand the importance of your emotions as well as your feelings and control them in a very, very professional manner. Okay. The next aspect is you to prepare and understand what we call a win-win attitude among people. How does it look like? So if we are all, you know, we can have our own feelings, our own attitudes, our own way of doing things. But in handling issues, we should work towards what we call win-win situation or win-win attitude. Not one person feel discriminated and the other person feel left out, and this one person who is only working towards achieving his personal agenda. But be it at school, it can be you as the teacher with your head of department where you report to. It can be you with your school principal as the main supervisor. It can be you with the parents, with you and with the learners. So there must always be what we call win-win attitude among people, wherever you find yourself, in the community, working with the parents of the children that you are teaching, at school ground, working with the learners, working with the head of department, working with your school principal. There must be a win-win attitude. What is it like? You should get the content in your module. Okay, proceeding. Nowadays in Namibia, there are issues and there are problems that we experience, be it in our community, in our society, or perhaps in the school ground as well. There are learners or there are teachers that are using the substance. Let's talk about the substance. We talk about drug abuse. It's very, very common in our society these days. The learners perhaps are using drugs, dagga and smoking dagga and marijuana and all that. So teachers also, they are not an exception in this case. Teachers, head of department or school principal, or maybe the regional level directors, somehow, somewhere, we are affected by this situation, be it alcohol abuse or drug abuse. Now, one should understand what are the negative consequences, the end result of using drugs, of using alcohol, and so forth. So as a teacher, you should have a wider understanding of this issue. Not only basing in the book, but also general. Because a teacher should be someone who is well exposed in terms of any social ills in our society. So you must be able to deal with this issue, either dealing with it in terms of learners using this, or you should have understanding what is drug abuse and what is alcohol abuse and what are the consequences that are involved. This should be explained quite well to the learners, and you should also have a good understanding for you to perform well in the exam. Should this question come in exam, then you have a wider understanding because you've read a lot of books, you have read newspapers, you know what are the current affairs, you know what is really happening in our society, so that you'll be able to deal with this question as an individual, as a teacher, as somebody who is also educating the nation from different directions of life: society, school, class, etc. So you must know what are the negative consequences of the substance use. Okay, proceeding. I always say, some people think that the issue of HIV/AIDS is it has reached a saturation point, but it is not the case. So sometimes we tend to turn a blind eye on the issue of HIV/AIDS, and it's quite interesting because even in the assignments that were produced by most of the students, it was very disturbing that some teachers could not even give detailed information on how to prevent the spread of HIV/AIDS. I don't know if it's an ignorance, or the people are not well informed, or they are just not interested. But the fact remains, AIDS is still here. HIV infection is still going on a daily basis. So we cannot turn a blind eye, but we should expose ourselves and have a better understanding of how HIV spreads. So if it comes in exam, then it should just be a walk in the park, because we are well informed. We are all well aware that how HIV is spread and how do we prevent the further spread of the virus, only if we are not ignorant. I'm just also wondering, how do we teach the learners about HIV/AIDS? We should not ignore it, but we should keep an eye on it and make sure that the young generation that are just being born, they are well informed. So therefore, as a teacher, you should know what are the ways of preventing the spread of HIV/AIDS. We have a lot of them that we know, that we have learned about. We have learned about this in the books. We have learned about this in our society from health sectors. So I don't even want to talk about it. Like, what are the ways of preventing the spread of HIV/AIDS? We have abstinence, being somebody to abstain from having sexual intercourse, sexual activities, just to stay away until you get the partner, the trusted partner who is also tested and is HIV free. We have other methods like condom use. So you name them. So we have a lot. So please expose yourself and have a wider understanding of the preventing methods. These days, there is a moral decay in our society, and the children sometimes don't know the difference between what is moral right and what is moral wrong. Why? Because they are not taught the values that they should live or that they should abide. So the values that should be taught to our children are the values that they should also pass on to their children after they are adults. So therefore, as a teacher, you should know the values that should be taught to our children. So please, you go back to the module and have this understanding, then you'll be able to present it quite well in exam. The next item that we should also prepare for in our exam, whether it's coming in exam or not, you should have this understanding of what healthy eating habits look like. What healthy eating habits look like. We live in a society where obesity is very a problem. And obesity comes as a result of not eating healthy food. So therefore, focus on this, explore more information on what are the healthy eating habits. Junk food, doing away with junk food, drinking a lot of water, exercising, contribute, and to a healthy lifestyle. And one should take into consideration that what are the food that somebody can eat to make sure that your body is kept healthier. Yes, then we are moving on to what we call, most of us are perhaps not financial disciplined. What does that mean? It means that we are not financial disciplined because we don't budget. And one should know what are the steps that are involved when somebody is drawing up a budget. Because as a teacher, even yourself, if I ask you, do you budget? Or when your salary comes, you spend it anyhow, anyway, without budgeting. So go back to the steps that are involved when it comes to budgeting. What are the steps that you should follow when you are drawing up a budget? This is only not helping you just to get marks in an exam or in an assignment, but it also helps you as an individual to focus and know how to budget and what are the steps that you should get that they should get in place when you are doing budgeting. So it's very, very important. That goes hand in hand with what we call ways of saving money. How do we save money? What are the ways that are involved? This subject, it's called life orientation and life skills. So it's giving you a wide range of knowledge in different aspects that you should know. And you should utilize this. in practical terms, not only in a subject as such, or perhaps just for you to get marks, but you should also practice this when you go back, because as we speak, some of you are teachers, some of you are aspiring teachers, you want to get into education, but once you go through this subject, it will help you in life as well, apart from getting this grasping the subject knowledge and capturing the concepts, but it can also help you in life to excel and get somewhere. So therefore you should explore what are the ways of saving money, okay, for your needs. Wherever you find people, there is always conflict. Sometimes we cannot escape away from this. It lives with us. But the best way is there should be a way of handling conflict. Not just handling it, but handling it positively. Very important. So you should explore this information on how to handle conflict positively, so that you'll be able to answer a question of this nature should it come in exam. Oh, quite interesting. We are definitely different from animals as human beings, but how? How are we different? What are the characteristics that distinct us from animals? So you should be able to get to the bottom of this and understand how human beings are different from animals. Of course, we are different in many ways. So those are the differences that you should bring on the table that we are talking about here. We have different values, values that we find in our society, in our communities, in the books, in the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia. But how these values can be incorporated into the Namibian laws to be made as laws. What we are talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is what is in your modules. Please make time to go through these values that can be incorporated in the Namibian laws. If you're talking about the Namibian laws, of course, we are referring to the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia. What are the values, perhaps, that can be incorporated today? We have human rights. We have a lot of values. So you should come up with those values that you think can be incorporated into the Namibian laws, but not actually what you think, but what is in your module. What are those values? And then the issues that we are talking about in life orientation, life skills module are interlinked. They are interconnected. Now, what are, if you can recall, or if you go back to the module, then you'll be able to tell what are the examples of negative social behaviors. What are the negative social behaviors? The behaviors that are not welcome, that are not needed in our society, but yet we live with them. But you should be able to give these examples of negative social behaviors that we find in our community or in our society. Oh, everybody these days, especially with economic crisis in our country, everybody wants to have that loan in order to meet you halfway, because perhaps you don't even work overtime anymore because the company or the government cannot pay you overtime anymore due to, because we are all obliged, we are all requested to save money to make sure that we cut costs. But we want loans because we still have problems. As much as the country is in economic crisis, hardship, we still have needs that we need to meet. So therefore, you should be able to look at the advantages as well as the disadvantages of loans. Grabbing your handbag, a lady, you go to the bank and say, I want a loan. So you should look at the disadvantages. what are the disadvantages if I take this loan? What are the advantages if I take this loan? What is very involved? So you must be able to look at the advantages as well as the disadvantages of loans. Be it personal loans perhaps, or just loans in general, but your book will guide you, definitely. I once attended a course on emotional intelligence. I was amazed. At the same time, I was overwhelmed, because this aspect is very, very, very important. Not only for the learners as developing emotional intelligence to them, but you yourself as a teacher, you need this. You need to unpack this aspect of emotional intelligence. It's very, very important. But in this case, it's referring to the learners. So please unpack it, understand it inside out, so that you'll be able to present it. And also, you'll be able to utilize it or to use it as in life. So emotional intelligence, very important. And you should also be able to look at the main domain of emotional intelligence. The main domain of emotional intelligence. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on. You should be able to look at the effects of competence, performance, and professional contact on a teacher's teaching. As a teacher, so you must be able to look at the competence. What are the effect of competence, the effect of performance, and the effect of professional contact as a teacher, because you really need that. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, at your schools, if you are a teacher or if you are a head of department, if you are a school principal, or maybe aspiring teachers, what you should understand is there should be school rules. At school, there must be school rules, because if there are no school rules, just imagine a situation where there are no school rules and you have learners at school, you have teachers at school, you have other stakeholders like parents or like maybe regional office, like the Ministry of Education at the upper level, and there are no school rules. It will be a very, very chaotic school, because the learners don't have the guiding principles that they have to follow, they have to live by, they have to abide by. So therefore, you should know how learners should follow school rules, because there must be school rules. Okay, ways of following. How should this be presented to the learners so that they are able to live in a more controllable atmosphere? And because discipline goes along with performance, because if the learners are not disciplined, then they will not be able to perform. Okay? Then you move on to the negative consequence of ignoring values, laws, and rules. You can also just imagine if there are no rules, or maybe there are rules, but people, the citizens of the country, or the learners at school, or people in the society are not following the rules. They are not following the values. They don't have values at all. There are no laws, or the laws are there but they are being ignored. What are the consequences? Just imagine if you are driving in the red traffic light. What are the likelihoods? Of course, you are going to crash into other people's vehicles, and the seat police, like here in Windhoek, they will be after you, or the Namibian NAMPOL, the Namibian police will be, you'll be caught. So these are the negative consequences if the rules or the laws are not being followed. The values that are in the society, that are in the community, if they are not being followed, then we are going to be a lawlessness country, and people will not even have values anymore. So they will live anyhow, any way that they want. And what are the likelihoods? Catastrophic. Identify precaution measures to prevent teenage pregnancy. This is still a hot topic. We are all aware in school life that there is a policy that says learners can stay in school even though they are pregnant. Of course, it's a law, and that policy is to be followed. No one can run away from it since it's already endorsed and is in practice. It has been around for years now. But yet, we should not ignore that and say, okay, since, the policy says that the learners can be allowed to come to school until the last stage of pregnancy, and immediately also when they have given birth, they can come back. So we cannot say, since they are allowed now, it's okay, let it be. We can still find the precaution measures that we will employ to make sure that we prevent teenage pregnancies in school and also in our community. Because if we do not bring out or bring about the precaution measures, then it's a different story. You can just imagine maybe if the whole class, all the girls are pregnant. And now, will teaching be that effective? So therefore, we should be able to, as a teacher, as a student of IOL, you should be able to identify what are the precaution measures that can prevent teenage pregnancies. Okay, there are also some general issues. Sometimes we tend to say, okay, I'm only going to concentrate and limit myself to the module that is given before me. But that's not the case. As a student, you should be prepared for any type of question to come in exam. There are general issues that we see, that we are exposed to, that we hear on daily basis, that we read or we watch television and so forth. So you must be prepared for any eventuality of these general issues in exam or in your assignment. Don't just limit it and say, my focus is here, the content is here, so I don't have to go anywhere else. The general issues we talk about, crime is rampant these days in our society. Stealing, robbing, and fighting, and so forth. Different types of crime or criminal activities in our society. On NBC television these days, on Sundays, around 8:30, 8:45, they show a very, very interesting documentary about the Sikh police and the criminal activities that are taking place. That they follow them. How do they go about their daily work in fighting for crime, nighttime, from daytime to nighttime? It's a very interesting documentary that somebody can venture into. Take those few minutes, 30 minutes, and go to your television at 8:45, I'm not mistaken. Then you will be able to follow what is really happening. As a teacher, you must expose yourself to different types of activities that are going on, get different types of information that you will utilize in your examination, and also for your general knowledge and understanding, knowing what is happening in your community. We should not be ignorant of that fact, because a teacher is ready to learn and get information anyhow, anytime, any place. So I recommend you to go for that and be able to get that information that you can use in your growth as a teacher. We are talking about corruption. We have ACC. Follow it. Go to the internet. Get that link and see what is really happening in your community. Okay. Other issues are self-confidence, because a teacher, you should also have self-confidence in what you are presenting in the class, or self-confidence in what you are learning. For you to acquire that qualification and walk tall and proud when you are going for graduation, of course. But first of all, you need self-confidence in you. Bullying, bullying can come in different types of ways. Being a teacher, maybe you were bullied once when you were a learner, or you are currently being bullied as well. Have that wider understanding of what is bullying. And by understanding what is bullying, you'll also be able to help your learners in class to go through this, because sometimes you cannot ignore that bullying cannot take place. It's taking place without us knowing. Sometimes we are also being bullied, being on social media, and expose yourself and have an understanding of what is bullying. Okay. Problem solving in general, yes, we experience different types of problems in life, how to solve them, how to go about solving problems in the classroom situation, in life in general, in society, and etc. Time management, very important, because if we cannot manage time as teachers, we will not expect learners to manage their time. Coming to the class on time, preparing your lesson plans, making sure that you have met the due dates of marking the learners' work, and also yourself, understand what is time management. You need it. You need it in exam, perhaps. You need it in assignment. You need it in life. You need it to make sure that you educate the learners to manage their time effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this presentation. What I would like to urge you to do is to prepare thoroughly for examination or for assignments. You should revise all the units that are given before you in the module. And once more, go back to the action verbs. The action verbs are very important because they are guiding you on how to approach different types of questions. And you should understand each verb, because once you understand each verb, you will be able to answer all the questions correctly and in a more professional and in more effective manner, because you will know what is asked. You should utilize the experience as a teacher, or perhaps as a student teacher. And please, I beg you, never and ever leave any question unattended. Try by all means to answer all the questions, even if you don't understand, because there is nothing that is called difficult question. Each question is approachable and you will definitely make it. For you to contact me, my mobiles are there, 0811480977 or 0812531801. You can also contact me. Okay, of course, the time is very important. 8 o'clock in the morning to 18 hours, Monday to Sunday. My email address is, I always say it's quite effective if you can drop me an email. My email address, because an email, sometimes you are calling and I'm not picking up because perhaps I'm in a meeting, or I'm in a church or something. But dropping an email, it's quite effective, because I will definitely reply to your email. So my email address is T_, please take note of underscore, don't put that in the middle, don't make it a dash in the middle, but it's underscore, T_shikukuma@yahoo.co.uk. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening and all the best of luck.